Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for part 6 of my vinyl collection as of this year, 2016, which we're pretty much in the middle of the S's here. We last left off with that new Sturgill Simpson album, A Sailor's Guide to Earth, that I recently bought. This next one that I'm going to show you here is one that I also recently got this summer at Music Underground in State College, Pennsylvania. I'm getting into, I got a few Sleater-Kinney records on vinyl. First I have Call the Doctor, their second full-length record, and this, of course, this is the reissue that was released on Sub Pop, which I think they did a good job with the remasters here. I did spin this once. Yeah, it is a great record. I'm gonna have to give it a few more listens, because I've only spun it like once on my turntable. There's a lyric sheet. Sleater-Kinney has been pretty consistent since from like, you know, the mid-90s to like their hiatus in 2016, and now they recently reunited and put out a fantastic record, No Cities to Love. Yeah, they got some consistency, man, with their kind of raucous sound, with you know, some powerful vocals, some Corin Tucker, some great guitar riffs from Carrie Brownstein, booming drums from Janet Weiss, and of course some pretty politically charged lyrics. I can't wait to see what they do next, since they now just reunited. There's side A, and there's side B, which has the Call the Doctor logo on it. And then this is a download card that goes with this. Yeah. Yep, so that's Call the Doctor, and then I also have my favorite Sleater-Kinney album, probably by far, although I haven't really listened to this in a while, but I do love this record, Dig Me Out, which is their first album to be released on the indie label Kill Rock Stars, who also released the works of people like Elliott Smith at the time, and then eventually artists like the Decemberists and stuff like that, and Deerhoof, you know, whatnot, all those different indie bands. Yeah, this is a really, really good album. Yeah, definitely, you know, probably their best record, in my opinion. They're first to feature Janet Weiss on drums, because they had, their drummer used to be Laura McFarlane, but she left, apparently, because I heard, like, her visa ran out or something like that. But then, here's the lyric sheet, and the thank yous and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, it makes sense Janet Weiss, you know, eventually replaced their older drummer, because I think she brought some whole new dynamic to the drums when it came to Sleater-Kinney. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this later. Yeah, I picked this up at Ka-Chunk, which is my local record store that I go to that's in Annapolis. Yep, there's both sides of the vinyl, and, you know, download cards look all look the same, so, you know, not really going to bother. Yeah, this is certainly the record that gained them some widespread acclaim, you know, in the first place, you know, from critics And since then, pretty much all their records had gotten positive reviews. Which, makes sense, because in my opinion, they never put out a record that was, like, downright horrible or anything like that. Sorry, this is killing me. Yeah, because I'm not an expert at putting, the vinyl packaging back together. So, just bear with me. Yeah, and I've also got Sleater-Kinney's 4th studio album, which came out back in 1999. This is The Hot Rock, which really saw the band sort of expanding upon those records. This is a more ambitious record, and definitely a more sort of introspective kind of album too. Meaning there are more ballads on this thing, but they still haven't lost the energy and stuff like that. It's just, this record is different from Dig Me Out, but it's still a great record. I do like to see the band kind of, trying to do something different, and I feel they did that with this album, and I think One Beat saw them expanding, adding in horns and strings and stuff like that into their sound as well, which actually ended up working pretty well. And The Woods saw them probably at their heaviest yet. I mean, that record, it's definitely one of their noisier records. Songs like The Fox and stuff like that definitely had a more sort of sunburnt kind of sound to them, but not in a way that was irritating for the ears or anything like that, Anyway, there's the lyrics there. Produced by Roger Moudenot, who's produced the works of people like Yo La Tengo, most notably. Then there's a picture of the band there. Probably looks like they're in an airport or something like that in that photo. Maybe a train station. Who knows? And this record saw them sort of incorporating some trade-off lead and backing vocals, which I thought was pretty cool to see them, do those, there's a lot of chemistry behind the vocals on here that I'm pretty drawn to. Here's side A and side B. Yeah. But, they sort of came back to a more Dig Me Out-esque kind of sound with All Hands on the Bad One, which is probably my second favorite album in their discography. I reviewed that a little while ago, and I reviewed One Beat as well as The Woods as well. Reviewed several of their albums because they have a great discography. So yeah, that's all my Sleater-Kinney records on vinyl. So I pretty much have every one of their records except for their self-titled album, which I haven't really listened to. But next is pretty much the only Elliott Smith record that I have on vinyl. Everything else that I have from him is on CD. But but he definitely is one of my favorite songwriters of all time. So it makes sense that I had to get a copy of his debut album on vinyl, which is Roman Candle, originally released in 1994 on Cavity Search Records, but this is a re-release on pretty much a heavyweight in indie labels, Kill Rock Stars, who released some of his work in the mid-90s before he signed to DreamWorks Records and started making some poppier records. Then his older stuff, which is a lot more lo-fi, a little more brooding and dark and, dark and, a lot more kind of, intense lyrically. Yeah, like, probably my favorite albums in his discography would definitely have to be, Either Or and his self-titled record, and I know that's kind of cliche, because I know that's the two records that a lot of fans of his work would hail as his best, but Roman Candle's a great record, too. I do like songs in here, like the title track, of course, is definitely the highlight of this record. The no-name songs are good, Last Call. Even the instrumental track on here, Kiwi Mad Dog 2020, is gorgeous. Yeah. Which sees him actually going in a different direction from the rest of the record. It's very acoustic. He went for a more psychedelic, sort of electric guitar kind of thing with that track. But anyway, there's the lyric sheet, and Kill Rock Stars. I gotta give it to them. They did a good job with this remaster of this album. Mostly because I pretty much found out the reason why they remastered this album is because Larry Crane, felt like it would serve the sound quality of the album better, since he's like the archivist of Elliott Smith's sort of, work, pretty much, so he like puts out rarities and stuff like that. Because he found little guitar squeaks and stuff like that and felt like it needed to have a much more pleasurable sound quality. So that's why I gotta give it to them for, the remaster, because I personally wouldn't want really something too lo-fi for my ears either. Yeah, and there's the vinyl. Yep. Okay, there's the download part in this. Yeah, there it is. Yep, so yeah, Elliott Smith, definitely a legend of a songwriter. May the guy rest in peace, because he put out some great songs, I will admit. Well, he pretty much first got some attention when his songs got featured in the movie Good Will Hunting, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So it makes sense that they would include the songs of one of my favorite songwriters of all time, which is Elliott. Because apparently Gus Van Sant, even he has some pretty good music taste. Okay, and I also have a few Spoon records on vinyl. Again, another band from the, indie rock spectrum that have kept it pretty consistent with their discography from, their stuff in the 90s to their latest album, They Want My Soul, which is definitely one of my favorite albums of 2014. It's pretty high up on the list of my favorite records of that year. Here, this is their sophomore effort, A Series of Sneaks, which this was the record that really saw the band improving pretty much on all fronts in terms of songwriting, performances, and, as well as, passion as well. This is a pretty solid record, although the band really got more and more focused with every record. With, this one, and then Girls Can Tell, and then Kill the Moonlight, my personal favorite in discography, and of course Gimme Fiction and Ga 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 Ga. They were pretty much getting more and more ambitious with each album, pretty much. And this 14 tracks long. Its album doesn't really overstay its presence. It's only about 33 minutes long, so it's a pretty short record, but still, there's a lot of great tracks on this album. Utilitarian, Reservations, 30-Gallon Tank, Car Radio, Metal School, Advanced Cassette. Those are probably some of my favorite tracks on here. Yeah, so basically these are some pretty short, like, you know, like 90-second, 2-minute long kind of tracks, but, you know, there's a lot, but still there's a lot to like about it. This is the re-release that Merge Records released, because apparently this was originally released on Elektra, but apparently Elektra, you know, when the album got released, the band got dropped from Elektra for whatever reason, so, yeah, that was, that wasn't too good. But thankfully they signed to Merge, and yeah, which would have served their career better, I think. You know, signing to, you know, pretty much a godfather of indie labels, which happens to be Merge. And they put out so many great records on that label. Of course, Neutral Milk Hotel, Arcade Fire, yeah, as well as, you know, they released, you know, a majority of Spoon's records as well, but now the band's actually signed to a major label as of right now, Loma Vista, but they still keep it pretty consistent. You know, As They Want My Soul is still a great album. And next, of course, Girls Can Tell. The first album where Spoon really were very focused, where in terms of not just in production, but like they were getting more and more focused with their lyrics and stuff like that. The lyrics definitely were a lot more introspective on this album than they were on the first two records, where it wasn't really about songwriting. It was more about just some great performances and some good hooks and hooks as well as that. I mean, their first two records, not the best albums they put out, but, you know, they're still pretty digestible, I will admit. As, you know, some of their later records were. The first, like, here's some of my favorite songs on here. Everything Hits at Once, Lines in the Suit, Anything You Want, of course, that's sort of a fan favorite. But I also do really love some of the deeper cuts on here, like Believing Is Art, Me and the Bean, This Book is a Movie, beautiful instrumental on here, and Chicago at Night, in the Fitted Shirt. Yep, and also the band, and this is definitely a meatier record than their first two albums, like longer song lengths and stuff like that. And this is the first album where they worked with their longtime producer, Mike McCarthy. There's side A, and then there's side B. Yeah, pick this up. Pick this up at Soundgarden. So the Hot Rock I picked up at Ka-Chunk, as well as Roman Candle and Series of Sneaks. This one I picked up at Soundgarden in Baltimore, Maryland, and that is actually the t-shirt that I'm wearing today for this video. So yeah, shout out to you guys at, so definitely gotta give a shout out to, you know, you guys at Soundgarden. Alright. Okay, and of course, I gotta have my favorite Spoon album on vinyl, which you may remember this because I reviewed it last year, about a year ago, Kill the Moonlight. Yeah, great record. This is the album that saw the band, turning from a once kind of small indie band into, like, this album sold over 40,000 copies, so that showed the band was getting a little more attention, thanks to, like, having the song "The Way We Get By" featured in the OC, and several as well as some instrumentals from this record, and "Give Me Fiction" were featured in the Will Ferrell movie "Stranger Than Fiction," which actually is a pretty good movie, actually. And of course, this is on Merge. This is pretty much the record that a lot of fans would say is their best record. I mean, I do like Girls Can Tell. Give Me Fiction's good. Gaga Gaga Gaga's good, but they all kind of pale in comparison to this album, in my opinion. In my opinion. So I really like songs in here. Small Stakes, of course, The Way We Get By. Spoon fans can't go wrong with that one. Jonathan Fisk, Paper Tiger, as well as You Gotta Feel It, and Vittorio E. And like those are like band photos and stuff like that. Then there's lyrics on the back. I showed this in my review, but I'll show it again anyway. It's kind of ripped in there, but at least the vinyl's still okay, and it plays well, I'll admit. Right. Yep. Yeah. Like, I think these used to have download cards, but I, like, threw them away or something like that, because I usually don't use those, although I've learned how to not throw them away as much. Yeah, I picked this up at Ka-Chunk. Very solid album. Yeah, we still got a little bit of time, but we'll probably have to stop soon. But anyway, this next one is St. Vincent's Actor. Pretty much the only St. Vincent record that I actually, have on vinyl, and pretty much the only St. Vincent albums that I pretty much know from front to back is this one, along with her self-titled album, which is another great record from 2014. I actually did, I did a review of her self-titled album, if you guys want to check that out. Yeah, this is a great record. This was when St. Vincent used to have some more Baroque pop flavored sort of musical arrangements with huge woodwinds and strings. And not that her self-titled album wasn't pretty experimental as well, it's just it was a lot more accessible and a little more simple instrumentation-wise than this one was. But, nothing wrong with that, but she's definitely had a pretty diverse discography, so it makes sense why so many critics would, praise her up to the high heavens. Now, I do know one difference between the vinyl of this and the CD of the album is that the sequel, which is the closer on the CD, is actually the last track on side A on this vinyl of the album. So that's one difference between this and the CD of the album. Yeah, and I don't see a download card, and looks like we're gonna have to stop there. Yep. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for part 6 of my vinyl collection, and I'll see you for part 7.